This short recording is intended for undergraduate freshmen who are starting their college careers at the beginning of the year during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the idea is to make the most out of remote learning and some strategies for how you might do that. The first thing that is striking about the COVID-19 pandemic and remote learning is that it's really hard to build relationships if you're not on the same campus as as the people who would become your friends. So what you really have to do is make an extra effort to make making friends and building relationships your job. So you're here to learn, but you're also here to build some of the strongest friendships that you'll ever have in your life. And how do you do that? So one of the things that you can do is if you are involved in a summer program like an orientation, is to really make an effort to stay in contact with those people. You can form virtual study groups using those groups as the basis. And importantly, in most remote teaching software allows you to have conversations privately with classmates. So this is equivalent to passing notes in class or even talking in class, but the professor can't hear you. So you don't want to do this all the time and get distracted. But if it helps you build relationships with your classmates, then go ahead and talk and pass notes, ask about the material, ask to chat with the student afterwards. And I think that because everyone's in the same boat, no one will think it's weird, right? Like if someone just showed up, and said, "Hey, do you want to talk after class?" You might think it was weird, but I think since everyone's kind of in this remote situation, it's going to be a lot more acceptable to you and your classmates. Also, if you're having trouble doing this, you can ask the professor or TA for help in building a community. So we all of us on the faculty want the students to succeed. We want you all to succeed. We want you to be able to form study groups, and we know how hard it is. So if you need someone to send an email to the whole class, to in the service of forming a study group, they may have an idea of how to do that, and they can help you with it. That is the professors and the TAs. So in addition to forming relationships with your classmates, you also want to not lose the opportunity to form relationships with professors, and this also has to be done remotely. So a professor can help you learn the material, of course, that's their job, but also help you get into undergraduate research and also eventually to write letters for grad school and to be references for job applications and so on. So please ask us for appointments to meet with us. I think we all understand the amount of stress that remote learning is putting on some or all of you, and we really appreciate your patience, and we really do want to be able to help you in any way we can. And because we're not commuting, we have believe me, we have a few minutes to chat with you and about your what you want to get out of your degree. You're welcome to stay after class to ask questions, so you can private message the professor or email them ahead of time, and they most of the time would be more than willing to stay after and chat with you for a few minutes, because this is what happens in a live lecture, so there's no reason why it can't happen in Zoom too. We also will still be holding our virtual office hours. In some cases, they will be by appointment, so make sure to check in with your professor to meet them in their virtual office hour. And remember that we would rather be on campus with our friends too. If you don't believe me, you can find what we're saying on Twitter. A lot of us have accounts there where we complain to each other about how much we miss being on campus and part of the environment of a university. And just remember that it won't be like this forever. How about some study habits that may be specific to remote instruction? So, COVID-19 has opened the door to asynchronous education in a way that was really not possible or believable before. So, by asynchronous education, I mean that the video is recorded so that people in different time zones can watch it at their leisure. And because of this, I think it's never been a better time to be a freshman, particularly in introductory classes, because of the democratization of knowledge. So there are so many good resources for intro chem, intro physics, intro calculus that you can take advantage of as a remote learner. So if you don't like the explanation of a topic in class or in the book, feel free to search for one that works better for you. For example, I use YouTube and Wikipedia and Khan Academy all the time when I'm trying to learn a new topic. The explanation in the book may not be the best one, and although your professors and your TAs are certainly masters of the knowledge, they or have mastered the knowledge, they there might be an explanation that only gets it 80% of the way for you. And to get the other 20%, you need to find another resource, and feel free to do that. You can thus think of your professors and TAs as coaches rather than as the source of this information. And some advice that I like to give for any course, and that's remote or not, is to make flashcards. So this is how I studied in college. This is really how any success I had in getting good grades, I did it by putting the homework problems and derivations and important facts from class onto flashcards, and then you put the solution or the next step on the reverse side. And this is a great way to master the material, because then you have a pile of flashcards for stuff that you know cold, and you have a pile of stuff that you're still learning. And even the act of making the cards brings you sometimes 50% of the way toward understanding it. The other piece of advice that I give is to find one friend who is a little smarter than you. You don't want to tell them that, but who's a little smarter than you that you can embarrass yourself in front of, or feel like you can say something that's wrong and they're not going to judge you. I had a friend like this in as an undergraduate, and I thought that working with this particular friend and classmate was one of the most valuable things that I had in my sort of learning toolkit. So I encourage you to seek out people like that. Now, while we would rather be in class, there are some advantages of remote instruction. The first is that lectures are recorded, so you can pause, go back, and skip if you want. You can go for walks. You can exercise between classes. You have access to the fridge. You have access to your own bed. I, for one, didn't sleep particularly well as an undergraduate, so I probably would have slept better if I were at home. And it allows you to maintain friendships that you had from high school. And a lot of the friendships that I had in high school fell by the wayside after college. But one of the silver linings of learning remotely is that you still have access to those people. Also, if you are living off campus or planning to live off campus, there's no commuting and no traffic, which is fantastic. That's a huge source of stress in a lot of students and faculty and staff's life that we, for this period of time, even though it's a tragic event, we don't have to deal with this. And most importantly is that we're less likely to get and spread COVID-19 by doing instruction and learning remotely. Zoom and other online platforms also have a number of advantages, the most important of which is that the chat window can be used to ask questions, and you can even ask the professor privately. So there are not that many students who actually are comfortable asking questions in class because they don't want to appear ignorant, or they don't, they have stage fright. it's not easy for them to speak in class, and that's totally understandable. I was the same way, and I would have loved the opportunity to pass the professor a note anonymously so that I could have gotten my questions answered. Uh, in Zoom, you can take class with you on your phone or laptop or iPad into the kitchen or or the restroom, as long as your camera's off. So while your camera is, you can turn it off. Not everyone is comfortable having it on, but in some circumstances, you might want to consider leaving it on. One is that it's a good way to make eye contact with the professor or the TA, and they can get to know you based on the reactions you have to what they are saying. It actually helps us a lot in teaching a live lecture to have instantaneous feedback in the form of students nodding and and giving quizzical looks that our explanation was no good. We need to go back and explain it in a different way. So if you don't like your space, your Zoom space, or you don't want anyone to see your childhood bedroom, and I can completely understand that, or your parents' kitchen, use a virtual background. So it's an opportunity to make it memorable. I know one time I saw the Millennium Falcon background in one of my colleagues' Zoom windows, and I thought that was pretty cool. And if something isn't working for you, so some technical difficulty like I can't see the professor's slides, let them know. Just chat them, or if they don't respond right away, unmute yourself and just say, we can't see your slides, because we want to know. One time, one of the first classes that I was giving remotely, the students couldn't see my slides for like 6 slides in a row, and I didn't find out until well into the class. So let somebody know we want our stuff to be working and to be seen. So with that, you're welcome to ask questions in the comments or by email, and happy to connect with any of you. Take care.